The hurricane winds hammered against Miami's most exclusive resort as Maya-chan pushed her housekeeping cart through the deserted corridor. It was 2:53 in the morning, and the Azure Palace should have been silent, but Maya knew better. The rich never truly slept. Her wireless earbuds played neo-soul as she hummed softly, the music helping her forget she'd been working for 7 straight hours. Tomorrow, she had a gallery showing in Wynwood where she hoped to sell enough pieces to finally quit at least one of her 3 jobs. Swiping her keycard into what she thought was Suite 4328, Maya wheeled her card inside, still lost in the rhythm. She reached for the light switch, her hand freezing as voices pierced through her music. Low, urgent, and speaking rapid Korean. Ice flooded her veins as reality crashed down. This wasn't 4328. The brass numbers behind her read 4823, the penthouse suite, and she had just stumbled into something that would alter the course of her entire life. Maya's pulse thundered as she slowly removed one earbud. The penthouse was supposed to be vacant, yet 6 men in tailored suits occupied the space around a marble table covered with documents and what looked like architectural plans. The conversation died instantly. Every eye turned toward her. At the table's head sat a man who commanded attention without effort. Lee Jinwoo appeared sculpted from granite, all sharp angles and perfect composition, with black hair swept back precisely and eyes so dark they seemed to swallow light. His charcoal 3-piece suit probably cost more than Maya earned in half a year. "I apologize," Maya said, keeping her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Wrong keycard. I'll leave immediately." She started backing toward the door, but Jinwoo raised one hand, a subtle gesture that somehow controlled the entire room. "Wait," he said, his English accented but flawless. His voice reminded her of expensive bourbon, smooth with an edge that warned of consequences. "Your hotel staff?" he asked. "Night housekeeping," Maya confirmed. "I was supposed to be in 4328. I'm sorry for interrupting." What surprised her was her own composure. Growing up in Overtown had taught her that showing fear to dangerous men was like blood in water. Instead, she met his stare directly, her chin raised with the quiet strength her grandmother had instilled in her. Something flickered across Jinwoo's expression. Interest, perhaps. Recognition of something unexpected. "Minjun, verify her credentials," he said. Park Minjun, clearly the second in command, approached with professional courtesy. "May I see your employee badge?" Maya unclipped it from her uniform, watching as Minjun examined it with the precision of someone trained to detect forgeries. "Maya-chan," Minjun read aloud. "Employed 9 months, clean record." 9 months, Jinwoo repeated. "And in all that time, you've never made this mistake?" "Never. I'm usually very careful." "What made tonight different?" The question felt weighted with meaning Maya couldn't quite grasp. She found herself answering with unexpected honesty. "I was distracted. Thinking about tomorrow. I have an art exhibition, and I guess my mind was already there." "You're an artist." It wasn't a question. "I paint. Mostly contemporary abstract work inspired by Miami's cultural intersections. The cleaning pays bills while I build my portfolio." For a long moment, the room felt suspended. Jinwoo had built his empire on reading people, on seeing through masks and detecting lies. But Maya-chan was different. She was like viewing a painting he couldn't quite interpret. "Show me," he said suddenly. "Sir, your art." "Show me." "I don't have anything with me. Everything's at home or already installed for tomorrow's show." Jinwoo stood, and Maya was struck by how he moved, like controlled power wrapped in expensive fabric. "Minjun, clear my schedule for tomorrow afternoon. I want to attend this exhibition." The room's energy shifted palpably. "Mr. Lee," Maya said carefully, "that's really not necessary." The meeting was concluding anyway, Jinwoo said, which clearly surprised everyone else present. "Gentlemen, we'll reconvene tomorrow." It was dismissal wrapped in silk. The men began gathering materials with efficient precision, each offering a slight bow to Jinwoo before departing. As the room emptied, leaving only Jinwoo, Minjun, and herself, Maya felt the weight of her situation settling like a heavy coat. "I should really go," she said. But Jinwoo was already moving toward the bar area. "Coffee?" he asked. "You look like you could use caffeine. My supervisor will wonder where I am." "What's your supervisor's name?" "Denise Washington." Minjun already handled it, Minjun said, phone in hand. "Ms. Washington will be informed you're assisting with a special request. Overtime included." Maya stared at them. "You can just do that?" "Money speaks," Jinwoo said simply, returning with coffee that smelled better than anything from the staff room. "And I have considerable resources." When their fingers brushed during the handoff, Maya felt electricity arc between them. Jinwoo's eyes darkened, and she wondered if he'd felt it too. "Why?" she asked. "Why are you interested in my art? You don't even know if I have talent." "Because," Jinwoo said, settling into an armchair, "in my experience, the most interesting discoveries are accidental. You walked into my world by mistake, Maya-chan. I'm curious what else you might show me." The way he said her name sent shivers cascading down her spine. This was dangerous territory, but something in his eyes looked almost lonely, almost human. "1 cup of coffee," she said, settling carefully onto the sofa. "Then I really do have to finish my shift." Jinwoo's smile was slow and devastating. 1 cup. But as Maya sipped the best coffee she'd ever tasted and found herself drawn into conversation with the most dangerous man she'd ever encountered, she had the sinking realization that 1 cup was just the beginning. For days later, Maya was still trying to convince herself the encounter had been some kind of stress-induced hallucination. But the envelope delivered to her apartment that morning, containing 6 crisp $100 bills and a note reading for the exhibition, JW, was undeniably real. She'd stared at the money for 30 minutes. Taking money from Lee Jinwoo felt like crossing some invisible line, but her rent was due in 3 days and her exhibition sales had been modest at best. Now, pushing her cart toward the penthouse suite, her heart performed acrobatics in her chest. She'd requested reassignment to different floors, but Denise had insisted that premium clients required consistent service. She knocked softly before using her keycard. "Housekeeping." "Come in," came the voice that had haunted her dreams. Jinwoo was alone this time, working at the dining table with a laptop and multiple phones. He wore dark jeans and a black cashmere sweater that somehow made him look more dangerous than the suits. When he looked up, his face transformed with something resembling relief. "Maya, how was the exhibition?" "You didn't show up," she said, then immediately regretted the accusatory tone. "I was called away on business. I sent Minjun to purchase something on my behalf." "Did he find you?" Maya's hand moved instinctively to her bag, where the receipt for her largest painting was carefully folded. Minjun had appeared at her booth, examined her work with surprising knowledge, and purchased her most expensive piece without negotiation. "He bought Midnight in Little Haiti for far too much money." "Not enough," Jinwoo said, standing. "I saw the photographs he sent. Your work is extraordinary. You overpaid. That painting is worth maybe 300, not 3,000. "I disagree. You haven't even seen it in person." "Then show me. I want to see your studio, your other pieces." He was closer now, close enough that she could see gold flecks in his dark eyes. "Have dinner with me tomorrow night. Mr. Lee." "Jinwoo." "Jinwoo," she said, the name feeling intimate on her tongue. "I don't think." "Before you decline, consider this. I'm offering to commission a piece. A large piece for my office. The payment would be substantial." "How substantial?" "Enough to quit the cleaning job. Focus on your art exclusively." The offer hung in the air like forbidden fruit. Beautiful, tempting, and probably poisonous. "What kind of piece?" "Something that captures Miami's essence. The collision of cultures, the contrast between luxury and struggle." His voice was hypnotic. "Something only you could create." Before Maya could respond, Jinwoo's phone vibrated insistently. He glanced at the screen, and his expression shifted into something cold and lethal. "Excuse me," he said, answering in rapid Korean. The conversation was brief but intense. When he disconnected, the temperature seemed to have dropped 10 degrees. "Problem?" Maya asked. "Nothing that can't be managed. Unfortunately, I need to leave for several hours." He paused. "Would you be willing to stay until I return? I'm expecting an important call, and I'd prefer someone I trust were here to take a message." Someone he trusted. The words hit Maya like a physical impact. "I don't understand. Can't you forward the call? Minjun is handling the situation requiring my attention, and this particular call needs a more delicate approach." He moved to a painting, swinging it aside to reveal a safe. He withdrew an envelope and a business card. "If anyone calls asking for Mr. Park, tell them he's unavailable but will return their call within 24 hours. Write down their information." He handed her both items. The envelope was clearly stuffed with cash. "What kind of business are you in, exactly?" For a moment, his mask slipped, revealing something vulnerable underneath. "The kind where trust is rare and betrayal is fatal," he said quietly. "The kind where someone like you, honest, genuine, outside my world, is the safest person I could ask for help." "Someone like me? You mean poor?" "I mean uncorrupted," Jinwoo said, and the intensity in his voice made her breath catch. "In my world, everyone wants something. But you walked into my life by accident and asked for nothing. Do you understand how rare that is?" Before she could respond, he was moving toward the door. "The call should come within 2 hours. Order room service. Make yourself comfortable. I'll be back before midnight." Jinwoo, wait. But he was already gone, leaving Maya alone with an envelope full of money and the growing realization that she was swimming in waters far deeper than she'd imagined. The penthouse phone rang 90 minutes later, sharp and insistent. Maya answered with trembling hands. "Hello." "Mr. Park, please," came a voice with a slight accent. "Mr. Park is unavailable at the moment, but he will return your call within 24 hours. May I take your information?" There was a pause. "Who is this?" "I'm his assistant." "May I provide your details?" Another pause, longer this time. "Tell Mr. Park that Yamamoto called. He has my number. And tell him the timeline has accelerated. He'll understand." The line went dead. Maya wrote the message with shaking hands. The words felt ominous, like storm clouds gathering on the horizon. She was still staring at the message when Jinwoo returned, his coat damp with rain. "Any calls?" he asked, but his eyes were already on the business card. "Yamamoto," Maya said. "He said the timeline has accelerated, and that you'd understand." Jinwoo's face went completely blank, a mask so complete it was terrifying. He read the message twice, then looked up with eyes that had gone winter cold. "Pack your things," he said quietly. "What?" "Your cleaning supplies. Pack them now." His voice was calm, but urgency pulsed underneath. "You're not safe here anymore." "I don't understand." "Yamamoto Kenji is Yakuza. If he's accelerating his timeline, it means he knows about you. About tonight, about you answering my phone. Knows about me how? Hotel security footage, employee schedules, phone records. He's been watching, waiting for a vulnerability, and now he thinks he's found one." "A vulnerability?" "I'm not a vulnerability. I'm just the cleaning lady." Jinwoo looked up from his laptop, and the expression on his face was protective, possessive, and absolutely deadly. "Not anymore," he said quietly. "The moment you answered that phone, you became something far more dangerous." "What?" "You became mine to protect." The safe house was a sleek penthouse in Brickell with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Biscayne Bay and security that would intimidate military installations. 14 hours later, Maya was trying to process how her life had completely derailed because she'd used the wrong keycard. "This is insane," she said, watching Jinwoo pace like a caged predator. "I should call the police." "And tell them what?" That you're being protected from someone who hasn't actually threatened you? That you're staying in a luxury penthouse of your own volition? That I've been kidnapped by the Korean Mafia? Have you? Jinwoo stopped pacing. Because I distinctly remember asking if you wanted to leave, and you said no. He was right. She'd made choices. The problem was she wasn't entirely sure why. I don't understand any of this, she said finally. I don't understand your world, I don't understand why this Yamamoto person cares about me, and I definitely don't understand why you're going to all this trouble for someone you barely know. Jinwoo stopped pacing and turned to face her. In the morning light, he looked younger, more vulnerable. You want to understand my world? He asked. Fine. But once I tell you, there's no returning to ignorance. Are you certain you want that? Tell me, she said. Jinwoo moved to the windows. My family came to America when I was 13. My father had business interests requiring relocation. He was what you might call a traditional businessman with non-traditional methods. Mafia. We prefer organization, but yes. My father built an empire here in Miami. When he died 6 years ago, I inherited everything. And Yamamoto? Represents a Japanese organization wanting to expand into our territory. We've been negotiating for months. If he's accelerating the timeline, he's planning something aggressive. But what does that have to do with me? Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment. In my world, we protect what matters. But we also target what matters to our enemies. If Yamamoto thinks you matter to me, he'll use you as leverage. But I don't matter to you. We barely know each other. Don't we? Jinwoo moved closer. You've been in my thoughts constantly for 4 days. I bought your painting not because Minjun recommended it, but because I wanted to own something you created. I offered you a commission not because I need art, but because I wanted a reason to see you again. His honesty hit her like a physical force. Jinwoo. I know it's irrational, he continued. But from the moment you walked into that suite, something shifted. You looked at me like I was just a man, not a title or a reputation. Do you know how long it's been since someone looked at me like that? This is a mistake, she whispered. Probably, he agreed, reaching out to touch her cheek. But I've built my life on calculated risks, and you feel like the best risk I've ever taken. Before she could respond, the security system chimed. Minjun's voice came through the intercom. Boss, we have a situation. Rosa Martinez from the hotel is here. Says she needs to speak with Maya urgently. Maya's blood turned to ice. Rosa was her friend, her work partner. If Rosa was here, something was seriously wrong. Let her up, Maya said. Absolutely not, Jinwoo said, blocking her path. This could be a trap. It's Rosa. She's harmless, she's my friend, Maya insisted. If she's here, it's because something happened. Please. 6 minutes later, Rosa sat in the living room, her eyes wide as she absorbed the luxury. She was a petite woman in her 50s with graying hair and kind eyes currently filled with concern. Mija, she said to Maya. What have you gotten yourself into? What's wrong? Why are you here? Your friend Tasha called the hotel looking for you. Said you never came home last night. Then this morning, Ms. Washington called me into her office. Maya's stomach dropped. What did she want? She said men were asking questions about you. Wanting your schedule, your address, your friends. She said they didn't look like police. Across the room, Jinwoo cursed in Korean. How many men? 3. Asian men in expensive suits. They offered Ms. Washington money for information about Maya. Did she give it to them? No. Ms. Washington protects her people. She told them Maya no longer worked there and that she had no forwarding information. But they didn't believe her. They said they'd return, Jinwoo finished. And they had photographs. Rosa nodded. They had a photo of you, Mija. A recent one from the hotel security cameras. The room fell silent except for Maya's heart pounding. This was real. Men in expensive suits were hunting her. So you've been having my friends followed? Maya's voice rose. Having them watched? Protected, Jinwoo corrected firmly. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, It looks like you've dragged innocent people into whatever this is. I've kept innocent people alive, Jinwoo snapped, his control cracking. Do you think this is a game? Do you think Yamamoto cares about collateral damage? I think I want my life back, Maya shot to her feet. I think I want to go home and paint and work my regular job. That life is gone, Jinwoo said quietly, and the finality in his voice was like a death sentence. The moment you answered that phone, that life ended. Then change it. You're supposed to be so powerful. Fix this. I'm trying, but fixing this means dealing with Yamamoto permanently. And that means he trailed off. But Maya could fill in the blanks. Violence. Death. There has to be another way. There is. You disappear. New identity, new city, new life. I have the resources to make it happen. And never see my friends again? Give up everything I've worked for. You'd be alive. The words hung in the air like a blade. But Maya was looking at Jinwoo, seeing something in his expression that made her breath catch. He was offering her an escape route, but he didn't want her to take it. What do you want me to do? She asked quietly. I want you to trust me. I want you to let me handle Yamamoto my way, and I want you to stay here where I can protect you until it's over. And then what? Then you decide whether you want that new life somewhere else, or whether you want to stay and see what we could build together. The offer was insane. But as Maya looked into Jinwoo's eyes and saw the hope he was trying to hide, she realized that somewhere between the luxury suite and the safe house, she'd started falling for the most dangerous man in Miami. And that was the most terrifying realization of all. The call came at 3:24 a.m., shattering the fragile peace that had settled over the safe house. Maya jerked awake, her heart racing. Through the walls, she could hear Jinwoo's voice, low and urgent, speaking rapid Korean. She'd been staying in the penthouse for 5 days now. The routine had become almost comfortable. Jinwoo working during the day, shared dinners, conversation that felt dangerously close to normal. But the 3 a.m. phone call reminded her that their bubble was just an illusion. Maya crept toward the door, pressing her ear against the wood. Jinwoo's voice was escalating, more agitated. She caught fragments, impossible, not the agreement, and what sounded like creative Korean cursing. When silence fell, she waited before cracking the door open. Jinwoo stood at the windows, still in his dinner clothes, his phone clenched like he wanted to hurl it through the glass. Jinwoo, she called softly. He turned, and the expression on his face made her blood run cold. This wasn't the controlled, dangerous man she'd come to know. This was someone on the edge of violence. Go back to bed, he said, but his voice was strained. What happened? Nothing you need to worry about. Bullshit. Maya stepped into the living room. I'm not some fragile flower. What happened? For a moment, she thought he might order her to leave. Then his shoulders sagged slightly. Yamamoto has Tasha, he said quietly. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. She staggered backward, her hand flying to her throat. What? She was taken from her apartment 3 hours ago. No signs of struggle, no witnesses. Professional extraction. Jinwoo's voice was clinical, but she could see fury burning in his eyes. He wants to make a trade. What kind of trade? But even as she asked, Maya knew the answer. You for her. The room spun. Tasha, beautiful, brilliant Tasha, working on her doctorate and volunteering at the youth center, was being held by criminals because of Maya's mistake. We have to do it, Maya said immediately. We have to make the trade. Absolutely not. She's innocent. She has nothing to do with any of this. Neither do you, Jinwoo said fiercely. You think I'm going to hand you over to someone who's been planning your death since he learned your name? My death. Jinwoo closed his eyes briefly, as if he'd revealed more than intended. Yamamoto doesn't make trades, Maya. He makes statements. If I give you to him, you both die. Then what do? We get her back, Jinwoo said, already moving toward his laptop. Minjun is coordinating with our people now. We'll find where he's holding her and extract her. How long will that take? I don't know. Hours, maybe days. Days? You want Tasha held by criminals for days because you won't make a simple trade. There's nothing simple about this, Jinwoo exploded, his control finally snapping. You think this is just about you and your friend? Yamamoto is using this to force a war. If I show weakness, other organizations will see that weakness and move against us. Hundreds of people could die. I don't care about hundreds of people. I care about Tasha. And I care about you. The words tore out of him like they'd been ripped from his chest. I care about you more than I've cared about anything in years. And I will not watch you die to save someone else. The admission hung between them like a live wire. Maya stared at him, seeing the raw emotion he'd been trying to hide. Jinwoo, she said softly, stepping closer. I know you care. But if something happens to Tasha because you chose me over her, I'll never forgive myself. And I'll never forgive you. His face went completely blank, the mask sliding back into place. Then you'll have to live with that disappointment. No, Maya said, her voice gaining strength. I won't. She turned and walked toward the front door. She made it 4 steps before Jinwoo's voice stopped her cold. The door is locked. Biometric scanner. You can't leave without my authorization. Maya turned slowly, staring at him in disbelief. Are you keeping me prisoner? I'm keeping you alive. By locking me up? How is that different from what Yamamoto wants to do? Because I love you, Jinwoo said quietly. And the words hit her like a sledgehammer. Because everything I'm doing is to protect you, not hurt you. You love me. You've known me for a week. I've known you long enough to know you're the first person in years who's made me want to be better. Long enough to know that losing you would destroy me. And what about what I want? What about my choice? Your choice is to die for someone who can't be saved. That's not a choice. That's suicide. Maybe, Maya said, lifting her chin with the same dignity she'd shown that first night. But it's my suicide to commit. Before Jinwoo could respond, the security system chimed. Minjun's voice came through the intercom, tense and urgent. Boss, we have movement. For vehicles approaching the building. Yamamoto's people. Jinwoo cursed, already moving toward the security panel. How did they find us? Unknown, but they're not attempting to hide their approach. This feels like a show of force. On the monitors, Maya could see black SUVs pulling up. Men in dark suits emerged, their movements coordinated and professional. How many? 12 visible, probably more in reserve. Boss, they're not here for a fight. If they wanted to take the building, they'd have come with more firepower. The building's main phone rang, sharp and insistent. Jinwoo stared at it before picking up. Lee, he said. Even from across the room, Maya could hear the voice, accented English, polite and deadly. Mr. Lee, this is Yamamoto Kenji. I believe we have business to discuss. We have nothing to discuss. I think we do. You see, I have something you want, and you have something I want. Perhaps we can reach an arrangement. I don't negotiate with kidnappers. Kidnapper? Mr. Lee, I prefer to think of myself as a facilitator. I'm facilitating a conversation you've been avoiding. What do you want? A meeting. You, me, and Miss Chen. 1 hour, neutral ground. And if I refuse? Then Ms. Williams will unfortunately become a casualty of your stubbornness. Such a lovely girl. It would be tragic if something happened to her because you couldn't be reasonable. Jinwoo's knuckles were white where he gripped the phone. Where? The Azure Palace penthouse suite. Where this all began. How poetic, don't you think? The line went dead. Jinwoo stared at the phone before setting it down with careful precision. We're not going, he said to Maya without looking at her. Yes, we are, she said firmly. Because if we don't, Tasha dies. And if Tasha dies, whatever this is between us dies with her. Maya. I mean it. I won't be with someone who let my best friend die to protect me. I can't live with that kind of guilt. And I won't ask you to live with that kind of choice. Jinwoo looked down at her, and she saw the moment he realized she was serious. The moment he understood he could save her life and lose her heart, or risk everything for a chance at something real. If we do this, he said slowly, we do it my way. My terms, my security, my plan. Agreed. And if things go wrong? They won't, Maya said, reaching up to touch his face. Because you won't let them. Jinwoo leaned into her touch, his eyes closing briefly. When he opened them again, she saw resignation and determination in equal measure. Minjun, he called. Prep the team. We're going to the hotel. Boss, this is a trap. I know, Jinwoo said, never taking his eyes off Maya. But sometimes the only way out of a trap is to spring it yourself. The penthouse suite looked exactly the same, but everything had changed. Maya stood beside Jinwoo as they faced Yamamoto Kenji across the familiar marble table. Yamamoto wasn't what she'd expected. Instead of a stereotypical Yakuza figure, he was a refined man in his 50s, impeccably dressed and speaking with the cultured accent of expensive international education. He could have been a banker, which probably made him more dangerous. Miss Chin, Yamamoto said with a slight bow. Thank you for coming. I apologize for the dramatic circumstances, but Mr. Lee can be quite stubborn. Where's Tasha? Maya demanded. Safe. Uncomfortable perhaps, but unharmed. She's actually quite spirited. She spent the last several hours lecturing my associates about international human rights law. Despite everything, Maya felt a surge of pride. That was Tasha, turning a kidnapping into a teachable moment. What do you want? Jinwoo asked, his voice deadly quiet. What I've always wanted. A peaceful resolution to our territorial dispute. You see, Mr. Lee, you've been operating under the assumption that Miami is your family's exclusive domain. But times change. My father's agreements were clear. East Coast shipping, specific neighborhoods, limited overlap. But your father is dead, Yamamoto said with false sympathy. And you've become distracted. Soft. A man in love makes poor business decisions. The words hit their target. Maya felt Jinwoo tense beside her. My personal life has nothing to do with business. Doesn't it? Yamamoto gestured toward Maya. You've exposed yourself, Mr. Lee. Created a vulnerability. In our world, such vulnerabilities are exploited. Get to the point. I want 40% of your shipping operations, exclusive rights to 4 neighborhoods in South Beach, and partnership in your real estate ventures. In exchange, I return Ms. Williams unharmed and forget Ms. Chin exists. And if I refuse? Yamamoto's smile was cold as winter. Then both women die, and I take what I want anyway. The only difference is you'll have to live with their deaths. The room fell silent. Maya could feel Jinwoo calculating odds, measuring options. I need proof Tasha is alive, Maya said suddenly. Yamamoto nodded approvingly. Intelligent woman. He made a brief call in Japanese. Moments later, the suite phone rang. Answer it, Yamamoto instructed. Maya picked up with trembling hands. Hello. Maya. Tasha's voice was strained but strong. Girl, what the hell have you gotten us into? Are you okay? Are you hurt? I'm fine. Scared, but fine. But Maya, you can't. The line went dead. Yamamoto smiled apologetically. Ms. Williams is quite insistent that you not sacrifice yourself. Admirable loyalty. She's right, Jinwoo said quietly. This ends now. For a moment, Maya thought he was going to agree to Yamamoto's terms. Then she saw his hand move almost imperceptibly, the signal he'd taught her during their security briefing. Get ready to move. You're right about one thing, Jinwoo continued conversationally. I have become distracted. Soft even. Love does that to someone. I'm glad you see reason. But you made one critical mistake, Jinwoo interrupted. You assumed that being in love made me weak. In reality, it's made me absolutely ruthless. The sweet lights went out. In the darkness, chaos erupted. Maya heard breaking glass, shouts in multiple languages, and the distinctive sound of something moving fast through air. Jinwoo's hand found hers, pulling her down behind the heavy sofa as gunshots echoed from the hallway. Stay down, he whispered. Minjun is coming. The emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in eerie red. Across the room, Yamamoto was shouting orders while his bodyguards took defensive positions. But the assault wasn't coming from the hallway. It was coming from the windows. Minjun and 4 other operatives rappelled down from the roof, coming through the floor-to-ceiling windows in a shower of glass and tactical precision. The firefight was brief and brutal. Yamamoto's people were professionals, but they'd been caught completely off guard. Within 2 minutes, it was over. "Clear," Minjun called out, his weapon trained on Yamamoto, who now sat with his hands zip-tied. Jinwoo stood, pulling Maya up with him. His expensive suit was torn and there was a cut on his cheek, but his eyes blazed with satisfaction. "How?" Yamamoto asked, genuine confusion in his voice. "You made the same mistake everyone makes," Jinwoo said, straightening his tie. "You thought the hotel was neutral ground. But I own this hotel. Have for 4 years. Every camera, every security guard, every electronic system. The building security works for me. The elevators you used, I controlled them. The route through the lobby, I planned it. Even this suite. I had it modified with reinforced walls and bulletproof glass. Well, mostly bulletproof." Yamamoto's face went ashen as he realized the scope of his miscalculation. "Tasha," Maya said urgently. "Where is she?" "Safe house in Coral Gables," Minjun reported. "Team 2 extracted her 30 minutes ago. She's unharmed and asking for you." The relief hit Maya like a physical wave. She actually swayed, and Jinwoo's arm came around her waist. "How did you know where she was?" "We've been tracking Yamamoto's people since they took her," Jinwoo explained. "The meeting was never about negotiation. It was about keeping him busy while we got her back." "And him?" Maya looked at Yamamoto. "He'll be returning to Japan," Jinwoo said pleasantly, with a very clear understanding that Miami is off limits permanently. "You can't just." "Actually, I can," Jinwoo said, his voice dropping to the dangerous whisper Maya had learned to recognize. "You made this personal when you involved innocent people. In my world, that requires a very specific type of response." He nodded to Minjun. "Your flight leaves in 3 hours. First class, I'm not uncivilized. Your operations in the Southeast will be transferred to neutral parties, and you will never set foot in Florida again." "And if I refuse?" Jinwoo's smile was absolutely terrifying. "Then you won't be leaving at all." 30 minutes later, Maya found herself alone with Jinwoo in the penthouse suite where everything had started. The broken glass had been cleared, the bodies removed, and the evidence of violence erased with efficiency that spoke of long practice. "Is it really over?" she asked. "The immediate threat?" "Yes. Yamamoto won't risk another confrontation, and word will spread that Miami is protected." Jinwoo moved to the bar, pouring himself a drink with perfectly steady hands. "But there will always be other threats. That's the nature of my world." "Your world, which is now my world, isn't it?" Jinwoo paused, his glass halfway to his lips. "It doesn't have to be. Doesn't it? You said it yourself. Once you're in, there's no going back. I could arrange protection. A new identity, a new city. You could have the life you wanted, just somewhere else. Without you." "Without me," he confirmed, and she could hear the pain he was trying to hide. Maya walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the Miami skyline. Somewhere out there, Tasha was safe. Her old life was still there, still possible. But as she stood in the suite where she'd first met the most dangerous and compelling man she'd ever known, Maya realized that her old life no longer fit. What would staying mean? She asked without turning around. "Danger," Jinwoo said honestly. "Always looking over your shoulder, never being completely safe." And he paused. "And luxury you've never imagined. Protection that money can't buy. Resources to pursue your art without worrying about survival." She heard him set down his glass, heard his footsteps as he approached. When he spoke again, his voice was right behind her. "And me," he said simply. "For as long as you'll have me." Maya turned to face him, studying the man who'd turned her world upside down. He was still dangerous, would always be dangerous. But he was also the man who'd risked everything to save her best friend. "I have conditions," she said. "Name them." "Tasha's safety is non-negotiable. Always. Done. I want to keep painting. Not just as a hobby, but as a career. I want gallery showings and legitimate art sales." "I'll buy you a gallery," Jinwoo said immediately. "I don't want you to buy me one. I want to earn one." His smile was soft and proud. "Even better." "What else?" "I want honesty. No more protecting me from information. If there's danger, I want to know. If there are decisions that affect my life, I want to be part of making them." "That goes against every instinct I have," Jinwoo said. "But yes. And I want you to tell me again what you said earlier. But this time say it because you mean it, not because you're trying to justify a decision." Jinwoo reached up to cup her face in his hands. "I love you, Maya-chan. I love your strength and your talent, and the way you look at the world like it's full of possibilities. I love that you walked into my life by accident and stayed by choice. I love you enough to let you go if that's what you want, and enough to fight for you if you'll let me." "I love you too," Maya whispered, watching his face transform with wonder and relief. "I love you enough to stay, and enough to trust you with my life." When he kissed her, it tasted like promises and new beginnings. Like danger and safety wrapped together. Like coming home to a place she'd never known she was looking for. 10 months later, the gallery opening was everything Maya had dreamed of and more. The walls of the converted warehouse in Wynwood were covered with her paintings, bold, vibrant pieces that captured Miami's soul. Critics mingled with collectors, and the soft murmur of appreciation filled the air like music. "The piece in the corner is selling for how much?" Tasha asked, appearing with 2 glasses of champagne. "Enough to pay for your doctoral program," Maya said with a grin. "Twice over. I still can't believe this is your life now. 8 months ago you were cleaning hotel rooms." 8 months ago I walked into the wrong room and met the right man, Maya corrected, her eyes finding Jinwoo across the gallery. He was deep in conversation with a collector, but when he felt her gaze, he looked up and smiled, the private, devastating smile that was just for her. "How's the whole dating a reformed crime boss thing working out?" "Reformed is a strong word," Maya said honestly. "But he's transitioning. More legitimate businesses, fewer questionable ones. It's a process." "And you're okay with the process?" Maya watched Jinwoo charm a potential buyer. He commanded the room with quiet authority, but now she knew the man beneath the power, the one who brought her coffee every morning, who listened to her talk about art with genuine interest, who'd had a security system installed in her studio not to control her, but to protect what mattered to her. "I'm okay with him," she said finally. "All of him. The dangerous parts and the tender parts and everything in between." Across the room, Jinwoo finished his conversation and began making his way toward her, moving through the crowd with fluid grace. When he reached her side, his hand found the small of her back, a possessive, protective gesture that had become as natural as breathing. "How's Miami's newest art sensation feeling?" he asked, pressing a kiss to her temple. "Overwhelmed. Grateful. Slightly terrified." "The good kind of terrified?" "The best kind." "Ladies and gentlemen," the gallery owner's voice cut through the chatter. "Our artist would like to say a few words." Maya stepped forward, accepting the microphone. 8 months ago, I was working 3 jobs and painting in my spare time, dreaming of a moment like this. I thought success would come from perfect planning and careful steps. From playing it safe. She paused, her eyes finding Jinwoo's. "But sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. Sometimes you have to walk through the wrong door to find the right path." The applause was thunderous, but Maya was only speaking to one person. "This collection is called Collision," she continued, "because it's about what happens when 2 worlds crash into each other and create something entirely new. Something beautiful and dangerous and absolutely worth fighting for." Later, after the last guest had left, they stood together on the rooftop of Jinwoo's penthouse, looking out over the city that had brought them together. "Any regrets?" he asked, his arms wrapped around her from behind. "About which part?" "The art career, the dangerous boyfriend, the complete upheaval of my entire life." "Any of it?" "All of it." Maya leaned back against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. Below them, Miami sparkled like scattered diamonds. "No regrets," she said softly. "Not a single one." "Good," Jinwoo murmured against her ear. "Because I have something for you." He pulled back slightly, and when Maya turned around, he was holding a small velvet box that made her heart stop. "Jinwoo." "I know it's fast," he said quickly. "I know we've only known each other for 10 months. I know my world is complicated and dangerous. Jinwoo. But I also know that you're the best thing that's ever happened to me," he continued, dropping to one knee as the Miami skyline glittered behind him. "You're my heart, my home, my reason for wanting to be better. And if you'll have me, all of me, forever, I promise to spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret walking through that wrong door." He opened the box, revealing a ring that was absolutely perfect, elegant, unique, and clearly chosen by someone who understood her completely. "Maya-chan," he said, his voice rough with emotion, "will you marry me?" For a moment, Maya couldn't speak. She thought about the woman she'd been 10 months ago, tired, struggling, dreaming of a life she couldn't quite imagine. Then she thought about the woman she was now, successful, protected, loved beyond measure. "Yes," she whispered, then louder. "Yes. Yes, absolutely yes." The ring fit perfectly, of course. Everything about Jinwoo was perfect, perfectly dangerous, perfectly devoted, perfectly hers. As he stood and kissed her under the Miami stars, Maya couldn't help but smile at the beautiful irony. She'd spent years trying to find her place in the world, never realizing that sometimes you don't find your destiny, it finds you. And sometimes it finds you in the most unexpected place of all, behind the wrong door, with the right man, at exactly the perfect moment to change everything. If you enjoyed this story of Maya and Jinwoo's collision of two worlds, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another captivating romance story. Drop a comment below telling us what you thought. Would you walk through that wrong door? Share this video with someone who loves romance with a dangerous edge, and check out our playlist for more stories where love conquers all. Until next time, keep believing in the power of unexpected encounters.